Hello friends, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Ajay Solke, presently working as Assistant Professor, University School of Management, Kurukshetra University, Kurukshetra, Haryana. This module discusses about the trade union structures. Upon completion of the module, the student should be able to understand the various models of national trade union movements, to understand the international trade union federations, including those who are functioning at the regional and the branch sector levels, to understand how trade union structures at the national level they are linked from the enterprise to sector or the various industries regionally, nationally and globally, to gain an insight into significant issues concerning unionism among the managers and the women. With respect to the models of national trade union movements, the origins and the characteristics of trade union movements vary across countries. Based on the characteristics of the labor force and the methods used to organize labor, the following typology of the trade unions emerges. With regard to the models of national trade union movements, we have 6 typologies. One is occupational union, second is industrial unions, third is general unions, fourth is territorial unions, fifth is enterprise union, and lastly state sponsored unions. Let us explain them. Very first is occupational union. In the pre-industrial revolution era, unions started on lines of craft or specific occupational groups seeking to control labor supply and improve wages. The traditional craft union continued for a long time in the UK and the US but did not survive in continental Europe. With the advent of the factory system, craft unions began to be referred to as blue-collar unions in most countries. These unions initially resorted mainly to collective bargaining to improve their wages and working conditions. With advances in technology, much of the factory work became white-collar workers, and this led to white-collar unionism constituting clerical, supervisory and professional workers. Industrial unions. With the growth of mechanization and mass production at the beginning of the 20th century, industrial unionism became the dominant model. Recruitment to industry was mainly under the unskilled, semi-skilled and skilled categories. This was resisted by craft unions initially, particularly in the United States and the United Kingdom. In the United States, 2 federations emerged, the American Federation of Labor, which supported craft unions, and the Congress of Industrial Organization, which rallied industrial unions together. Subsequently, however, the American Federation of Labor and Congress of Industrial Organizations merged. Industrial unions began to grow easily and quickly, not only in most Western countries but also in socialist economies. Third type is general unions. Such unions cut across the boundaries of occupation or industry. The Transport and General Workers Union is a very classic example. The growth of employment in the services sector explained the growth of white-collar and general union in most countries. Territorial unions. These are federations which group workers' unions horizontally, vertically, or on the basis of political ideology with a view to coordinating them. Examples of central horizontal structures are national federations like the Britain's Trade Union Congress. There are vertical federations separate for blue and white collar workers. For instance, such unions are found in Sweden and Australia. Then there are confederations basically following different political and ideological lines. For instance, the National Trade Union Centers in India, AITUC, BMS, CITU, HMS and the INTUC. Talking about the enterprise unions, such unions are organized within an enterprise usually with no resistance from either the employer or the state. Employees, they remain tied to an enterprise. Enterprises assure lifetime employment and both labor and management focus on harmonious relations. Western unions were apprehensive of enterprise unions because of their narrow focus and lack of emphasis on solidarity. In Japan and Singapore, enterprise unions are affiliated to an extent but they do not usually take part in general strikes. State-sponsored unions. Such unions are peculiar to socialist countries and centrally planned economies as well, authoritarianism and military regimes. In socialist and centrally planned economies, the state organizes unions with the aim of integrating the role of unions in achieving the objectives of the state. In authoritarian regimes, the purpose is union repression and denial of trade union rights and human rights. International Trade Union Federation, also called as the global unions. Nationally, trade unions are organized at the enterprise, sector, region and the national levels. But internationally, trade unions are organized along two types. One is Federation of Representatives from Central Trade Union Organization in several countries. Secondly, sectorally, unions belonging to a single or related sector organized into what are known as Global Union Federation, GUFs. In addition to focusing on workers' problem in their own sector or industry, the Global Union Federations also work for general purposes in close coordination with international organizations. On issues outside their sector industry, Global Union Federations do not take final decisions without consulting the international federations. For better coordination, international federations invite Global Union Federation to their congresses, where Global Union Federations have the right to speak but not to vote. In each country, sectoral unions would be affiliated to GUFs and national trade union centers to international trade union federations. Talking about the international trade union federations, they are divided into four. Very first is International Confederation of Free Trade Unions, then is World Federation of Trade Unions, third is Regional Trade Unions at international level and International Federation of Christian Unions. Regional trade union federations at international level are further divided into three. One is International Trade Union Organization in specific industries or occupations. Second is Global Union Federations and third is Trade Union Internationals. Very first of all, International Confederation of Free Trade Unions. Formed in 1913, it is a worldwide alliance of free and independent central organizations or confederations of national level industrial trade union federations. Till the First World War, the federation cooperated with the Labour and Socialist International. While the federation looked after the issues facing industrial labour, Labour and Socialist International concentrated on political matters. However, in practice, there was no watertight compartmentalization in their activities. During the First World War, these institutions virtually collapsed. They continued till the end of the Second War. There has been a split between communist and non-communist unions. In the wake of the split, non-communist unions, which got together under the umbrella of the International Federation of Trade Union, changed its name to ICFTU. This reflected its ideological bias in favor of free trade unions committed with democratic and free market economy deals. The ICFTU represents 125 million trade union members organized in 206 national trade union centers across 141 countries or the territories. World Federation of Trade Union. The World Federation of Trade Union was formed towards the end of the Second World War in February 1945 as a democratic, class-based international trade union organization. Its objective is to unite wage earners worldwide with a view to secure their rights, defend their interests, and combat all forms of domination, subservience, exploitation, and oppression, and to bring about socio-economic development. Though initially World Federation of Trade Unions support base came from the East European and Central Asian Communist bloc countries. The breaking down of the Berlin Wall and the disintegration of the USSR took a heavy toll on the World Federation of Trade Union. The World Federation of Trade Union has since become a more open and flexible organization, establishing relations with non-member organizations on fraternal and voluntary basis to achieve common objectives and plan common activities. International Federation of Christian Unions (IFCU). In certain countries in Western Europe but not in other parts of the world, trade unions are divided on the basis of class and religion. The Christian or the Catholic trade unions did not believe in class warfare and advocated reconciliation of interests with employers. All Christian and Catholic unions together formed into the IFCU. After the end of the fascist and the Nazi regimes, there emerged a strong preference for single national centers. As of now, the IFCU's base is limited to very few countries in Western Europe. Regional trade union organizations at international level. Just as countries are coming together in certain regions, for example, the European Union, NAFTA, trade unions have also formed regional blocs or bodies for better coordinations of activities and to foster greater unity for common action. Such regional bodies, among others, are European Trade Union Congress, Organization of African Trade Union Unity, International Confederation of Arab Trade Unions, Permanent Congress of Trade Union and Unity of Latin America, General Federation of Trade Unions of CIS countries, All China Federation of Trade Unions, and lastly South Asian Regional Trade Union Congress. Global Union Federations. Earlier referred to as the International Trade Secretariats, Global Union Federations are a worldwide alliance of independent individual national trade unions whose members work in specific industries, branches or occupations. The objectives of the Global Union Federation include the following. First is promotion of worldwide solidarity. Secondly, they aim at securing and enforcing human and trade union rights. And lastly, they focus on establishing a just economic and social order. The major means of action to accomplish the above mentioned objectives include the following: assistance and protection in cases of violation of human and trade union rights and industrial actions over critical issues; strengthening the affiliates through assistance for building infrastructure, organizing members and undertaking education and training activities; exchange of experience, publications, studies and information; representing affiliates on matters concerning transnational companies; representing affiliates before international organizations, institutions; and lastly, international concentration, ये point दोबारा, international cooperation through alliances with other civil society institutions like consumers for consumer boycotts, etc. in the event of persistent industrial disputes and victimization. Trade Union Internationals. In the Second World Trade Union Congress in Milan, Italy, a decision was taken to form trade union internationals with a view to defend the vital interest of the workers through continuous defense, securing fraternal cooperation, achieving international mutual assistance and class solidarity among workers, accomplishing effective liaison, coordinated action and mutual exchange of information and experiences within the trade union internationals and between the World Federation of Trade Union and Trade Union Internationals. Initially, trade union internationals were set up as trade departments of the World Federation of Trade Union. After a few years, they acquired their own constitution and sovereignty. The highest authority of the TUI is the International Trade Conference. In 1949, 11 trade union internationals were formed. At the beginning of 2004, only the 6 continue to function. The objective and activities of TUI are broadly similar to those of the GUFs. However, on issues such as liberalization and privatization, the TUIs are more vocal in their opposition. Trade union structures at national level. Trade union structure is composed of several layers based on geography, sector or branch of activity in the economy and enterprise plant, etc. Each is related to the other horizontally and vertically. The formal structure of a union is influenced by its size, spread, role, activities, authority, accountability, and similar other things. The structuring of a trade union is composed of several layers of geographical and sectoral levels, each related to the other both horizontally and vertically. staff in various departments, sections depending upon the type of activities and services, rules and regulations concerning decision making to carry on activities and mechanisms for reward, review and refinement, and committees with specific tasks. A union's formal structure is influenced by the following factors: size, spread, roles and functions, responsibility and accountability. A trade union's structure has three dimensions: formal organization, the people, the human resource system. Trade union structures at the national level. It is composed of four set of unions. One is national trade union centers, second is regional political parties and the trade union wings, third is industrial sectoral federations, fourth is enterprise level unions. Very first of all, national trade union centers. In the interest of unity and solidarity, all working people in a country need to be organized under one umbrella organization. Implicit in the freedom of association is the freedom to choose, and this in turn implies the need for more than one such organization. Several industrial market economies have one national trade union center. In India and all other South Asian countries, there is a multiplicity of unions. According to the criterion set by the Government of India, after consultation with the unions in India, any union with a minimum of 5 lakh members spread over at least 4 industries and 4 states will be recognized as a national trade union center. The following 5 unions currently fill this criterion: All India Trade Union Congress, Bharatiya Mazdoor Sangh, Hind Mazdoor Sabha, Central of Indian Trade Unions, Indian National Trade Union Congress. Besides the above 5, there are at least 7 other national level unions with which the government holds consultations. Regional political parties and their trade union wings. Since the late 1960s, regional political parties have been coming into power in some states. These parties have set their own trade union wings along the wings for women, youth, students, etc. With the result, regional trade union organizations have been posing a challenge to the state wings of national trade union centers. The following is an illustrative list of political parties in different states in India which have established their own trade union wings. The very first is Tamil Nadu. They are having their trade union wing is Dravid Munnetra Kazhagam and All India Anna Dravid Munnetra Kazhagam. Andhra Pradesh Telugu Desam, West Bengal Trinamool Congress, Maharashtra Shiv Sena. Industrial and sectoral federations. In India, almost all major national trade union centers have about 25 industrial sectoral federations each. For each industry or sector, there are, on average, at least 3 federations affiliated to as many national centers. In industrialized market economies, for example, in the US, there is only one national center and one industry federation for each sector. In the automobile industry, for assistance, the United Auto Workers Union is the only industry federation employers have to deal with. Thus, union structures in several industrialized market economies are predictable. Employers who wish to treat unions as social partners can hold dialogues with unions before making investments and commencing operations. In India, the multiplicity of unions, many with political affiliations, creates uncertainty and breeds disharmony. Several sectoral industrial federations affiliated to the Indian National Trade Union Congress and Hind Mazdoor Sabha are affiliated to various global union federations. Enterprise level unions. Enterprise level trade unions, they are of 2 kinds: those affiliated to national centers and those without any affiliation to political parties. Sometimes unions may be independent, but their leaders may owe allegiance to political party at a given point of time or to different points over a period of time. Trade unions based on craft, category and caste too are not uncommon in India. Indian Airlines and the Indian Railways are classic examples of craft unions. In the airlines, pilots, traffic controllers, engineers, air hostesses, etc., they are organized into different unions. Within an enterprise, there are also category-wise unions. For example, separate unions for workers in the shop floor, staff which includes attendants, drivers, clerks, typists, supervisory staff and executive officers. In several public sector enterprises, for example in Mangalore, the policy of reservation has resulted in the recruitment of a critical mass of people belonging to a certain community. Such groups have felt it expedient to have separate organizations to give vent to their aspirations. Managerial trade unions. Managerial unionism is not unique to India. Commonly referred to as Officers Association, what are the major reasons for the formation of managerial unions? Here we have a look. Very first of all, officers' perception that workers have been able to protect their interest better than officers because they are organized. Secondly, the decline in the relative disparity in wages of workers and officers in the public sector, the feeling that there is concern for workers' participation in management but not of managers' participation in management. The relatively better and higher job security that workers enjoy are offered as evidence. The high-handed behavior of subordinates towards officers, particularly towards those who come into direct contact with workers. Officers are of the view that workers are able to get away with such behavior because they are unionized. Therefore, the latter have felt the need to unite to protect their occupational and personal interest. The nature and style of management, the ad hoc of arbitrary decision making and the resultant feelings of dissatisfaction, alienation and even helplessness, particularly among junior and middle management, particularly in the public sector. Continued indifference to their grievances has resulted in a feeling of relatively deprivation among members. Women in trade unions. Women's participation rate in employment is low. Also, only a minuscule fraction of women are trade union members, with sectoral variations in the pattern of their membership. Overall, membership is between 5 to 20%. Traditional sexual division of labor is pervasive. Research in India on gender division of labor and the relationship between production and reproduction has clearly demonstrated the asymmetrical structural relationship between male and female workers. The Trade Unions Act 1926 allows women to become members of a trade union. Now the question comes, why women do not join unions? Participation of women in trade unions is very low for a number of reasons, such as the family responsibilities, which includes childcare, all household duties. They are left mainly to women. Thus, a woman who is active in her trade union usually has the triple burden of family responsibilities, her work and trade union activities. Religion, taboos and cultural inhibitions make it difficult for women to break into the male environments. This is because women are often socialized to play subordinate roles to men, which can result in a lack of confidence among women when it comes to assuming public and leadership roles. In the workplace, women are often employed in subordinate positions under the supervision of men in more powerful positions. The occupational segregation in union structures create barriers for women advancement. The fact that large numbers of women are found in just a few occupational groups result in only a few women being represented on the committees and bargaining teams. Also, it is difficult for a woman in a low status job to represent workers in higher grades. Trade unions are often male dominated because of the notion that working in the union is a 24-hour-a-day job. The tendency to hold meetings at night, union jargon and sexist language, informal male structure, less interest in women's issues, less access to education and training for women in many places, and lack of physical infrastructure for basic needs such as childcare and toilet facilities, and lack of safe, convenient and affordable transportation facilities at union offices. These are the prominent reasons that why women are reluctant to join a trade union. Friends, I hope you have understood the contents well. You can also refer to other quadrants of this module for testing your knowledge and having some more input on theme of the module. Happy learning.